the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control. And it's not just the social and psychological effects, it's real harm.
What is happening in the UK with all of digital ID controversy? We are hearing it here from the West. Some of you who watch this channel are from UK. I would like to hear from you. What does it feel like living there? There's a lot being said. The Prime Minister, Mr. Keir Starmer, made the announcement about a week ago.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
Wow, that's crazy. I can see why people are upset. So what is behind this? How is this to be carried out? This will include not just your face scan, fingerprint. There is a government app, gov.uk wallet, where this digital ID will be stored. And you cannot work unless you have it. You cannot buy and you cannot sell. And I'll tell you what, the people in UK are not happy.
I'm tired. I am sick and tired of fighting these bastards. I don't want to fight. I wasn't put on this planet to fight, but fight we must. Because otherwise they're going to bring in a digital ID, and once that's in a digital currency, we will have total surveillance over everything that we do and we say. It's pretty bad now in the UK for those of you that are watching from another country. There are over 4,000 people in prison at this moment in time for social media posts. Not even their posts, post comments that people have made on their posts. This is the time to stand up. This is the hill that we must all die on. This is our freedom that we have to fight for our children and our grandchildren and all of those that come behind us. Stand up, everybody. No digital ID. Not on my watch.
First up, digital ID. 4 words you need to learn, and fast. I will not comply. It will be, of course, a centralised point of digital failure. Just look at what's gone on at Land Rover and every British airport, but much more than that. It's a centralised form of control that we do not need. The government said it will make it harder for people to work. Oh my goodness, because that's exactly what Great Britain needs right now, isn't it? We need to make it harder for people to work. I mean, last time I saw some rubber dinghy rapids rocking up on the shoreline with Mohammed, Mahmoud and Omar, they were so desperate to work. I mean, that's the reason they came here, just wanted to work.
So this government trying to bring in digital IDs by the back door, calling it the brick card, trying to make us proud of it. Absolute nonsense. This is so that they can track everything that you do. It's a social credit system like they've got in China. It's the first step towards it, and they're going to try and do anything they can to make you think that it's a good idea and it's for your safety. They'll use the illegal immigrants as an excuse to bring it in and hope that you'll just put up with it. Well, they tried bringing in the vaccine passports and all that nonsense during COVID back in 2020-21. Well, we fought back against that, and we can fight back against this, because let me tell you, the only people that need tracking and tracing of their every movement is the people in our government. They're the ones that should be accountable to us, the people. They shouldn't be tracking us. We should be tracking their every move and their every piece of legislation. And I stand with everybody at the Together Declaration, who were great during the vaccine passports, and I stand with them again on this issue. No to digital IDs, whatever name they want to try and call it.
What is the reason for this? One of the reasons he gave was because they want to stop the influx of illegal immigration in UK. Now, for those of you that know, it's wild out there, from what I've heard. Okay, anyway.
What the British people are owed is an explanation. Because a failure on this scale isn't just bad luck. It isn't a global trend or taking your eye off the ball. No, this is a different order of failure. This happened by design, not accident. Policies were reformed. deliberately to liberalise immigration. Brexit was used for that purpose, to turn Britain into a one-nation experiment in open borders. Global Britain. Remember that slogan? That is what they meant. A policy with no support, and which they then pretended wasn't happening.
But what's interesting about that remark is, wait a minute, this video is surfing the web saying, I'm going to fight you if you are against illegal migrants.
You say they should now be deported, then mark my words, we will fight you with everything we have, because you are the enemy of national renewal.
You are the enemy of national renewal if you fight against illegal migrants. But we're going to enforce digital ID to protect you from illegal migration.
And why are you and so many others against it when it's normal in most parts of Europe? Do you not trust Whitehall to keep the information safe?
Firstly, this is Britain. This is one of the things that makes us different, our relationship with the state. But number one, it's not going to stop a single illegal migrant. It's not going to work. Everybody, even Ed Balls, who used to be in the Labour government, has said that literally on air. Secondly, the government itself was warned by its own experts that this would actually make all of our information vulnerable because you've got one access data point and the criminals can attack that. But thirdly, of course, it's going to give lots of information to government they can use as they wish. And we saw in COVID and we saw with Tony Blair that governments sometimes are quite ruthless.
You just work with that however you want. But anyway, now when you follow where this is coming from, and this is what my investigation is leading me to, this is coming from, there you go, WEF. Listen.
When I started this job, there were actually very little countries in Africa or Latin America that had one ubiquitous type of ID, and certainly that it was digital, and certainly that it was biometric. And we've really worked with all our partners to actually help that being, to grow this. And the interesting part of it is that, yes, it is very necessary for financial services. But not only, it's also good for school enrollment, it's also good for health, who actually got a vaccination or not. It's very good to get your subsidies, from the government.
The technology and the digital infrastructure, I just want to emphasize how important I think that is. Because in the end, you need the data. You need to know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't been. Some of the vaccines that will come on down the line will be multiple. There'll be multiple shots. So you've got to have, for reasons to do with the healthcare more generally, but certainly for a pandemic or for vaccines, you've got to have a proper digital infrastructure. And many countries don't have that. In fact, most countries don't have that.
You have this anti-system movement. What we are seeing is a revolution against the system. So fixing the present system is not enough. Now, there is, of course, an anti-system, which is called libertarianism, which means to tear down everything which creates some kind of influence of government into private lives. It's dismantling the system.
All right, it's not just the WEF that we're going to talk about, right? We're going to talk about the UN, right? The UN in relationship with the Vatican and digital ID. Big happy family. That's why it's not even safe for churches to play around with the UN. Take a listen.
Talk to me about the 50 and 5 plan.
So the UN has partnered with Bill Gates on this, what they call digital public infrastructure. It's a very fancy term. And I think the simplest way to understand it is they're building a giant digital gulag for all of humanity. So the UN Development Program has officially launched this. It was officially launched at the end of last year, where they're going to get 50 governments, they call them countries, but really they mean governments, to impose at least some major element of this digital public infrastructure on their population within 5 years. So 2028.
Passports.
Digital IDs, and those are already emerging. In fact, many states are developing these. I just went through the airport yesterday. You can scan your digital ID QR code, right? So that's happening.
And that's really one of the main reasons for the COVID
absolutely
nonsense.
The architecture that was laid down is the backbone of this global control grid that they're building. So then you've got the central bank digital currencies, which are already being unveiled. Right? They've already been released. The World Economic Forum just said a few days ago 98% of the governments and central banks in the world are working on these CBDCs. Once they're fully operational, I guarantee you they're going to start waging war on cash much more openly. They'll say it's a tool for terrorists and pimps and every nasty thing, tax cheats, everything you can think of. Then you've got the payment processing systems, and you've also got, we just had the head of the World Health Organization talk about this recently, the digital health certificates, the digital vaccine passports. They're taking what the EU developed during the COVID, which, by the way, the European Commission was promoting vaccine passports in May of 2019, long before anybody ever heard of COVID or anything like that. So they're taking all of this together, and they are using it to build a control system that will not just be able to surveil and monitor everything you do on an unprecedented scale. When you combine it with AI, the ability to make sense of all this data, it's just mind-blowing, but also to manipulate what you do. And so they're talking about this, again, pretty openly. If you look at the World Economic Forum meetings, they talk about the benefits of programmable central bank digital currency, where they will be able to say who can buy what, when, under what conditions. And then the Bank for International Settlements, Carol Quigley, to go back to him for a moment, Bill Clinton's mentor, the guy who really exposed this global agenda to create a one world system, he said the apex of the system was going to be the Bank for International Settlements. This is an institution that's almost entirely unknown to Americans. And what they are working on right now, and this is not a secret, it's not a conspiracy because it's not happening behind closed doors, is what they call a universal blockchain ledger. They want to tokenize every asset in the known universe, every farm, every car, every house, every tree, put it on this ledger, this blockchain ledger, and then you're only able to interact with this blockchain ledger using your biometric digital ID, using your central bank digital currencies. And so if I want to buy something from you, I can't just hand you a $100 bill. I've got to go on my device, connect to this blockchain system, transfer the central bank digital currencies to you. And so this is a mechanism for controlling humanity that I think is really unprecedented in human history. And when you take it all together, it's very obvious.
So what happens to your privacy, your liberty, your security, your civil liberty, your religious freedom, and your ability to buy and sell under a digital ID? It threatens every single one of them. This is why people looked at this and say, I don't know about that, buddy. Now, listen carefully.
So if you have a digital ID, then if you look at Australia, for example, now with the digital identity bill that have passed, your identity is revealed to the state for almost any action that you take, especially online actions. You surf the internet, you are identified on the internet. They are able to tell which websites you went to, what did you purchase, how much time you spent online, whatever, social media, your opinions, you're identified. And so imagine that you're identified and your dissident voice is now known to the government. They can use AI to just really analyze quickly large sums of data and say all the people that talk about whatever permaculture right now, we want to put them segment them into a database, see what they're saying about it, pull out those keywords out of it, and all the people that are looking at permaculture in order to avoid the state control over food. I'm just giving an example off the top of my head.
It's a realistic one.
Let's go after them. They're identified, and then let's give them a quota of their CBDC of how much they can use to buy fertilizers, for example, because they're going to grow their own food, and we don't want them to do that. We want them to buy the industrial food in the supermarket because we don't want to hurt the economy, right? They have reasons for everything. I'm just giving there are so many examples you can make up.
The thing is, UK is not as great as you may think, all right? Some things are good, similar to the United States, of course, but some things are terribly bad, especially when it comes to their taxes.
The UK is now the second most depressing country to live in officially.
Taxes are at a post-war record high. Up to 45% income tax on what you earn. Then 20% VAT tax on what you spend. If you're a business, you have VAT. Then 25% corporation tax. Then business rates. Then 15% national insurance. Then you've got council tax, road tax, car tax, stamp duty tax. There are 39 different taxes that you pay. The town centres are in ruin. They're run down. There's empty high streets and increasing homelessness. You get stabbed for a watch in London, and petty crime is now legal in the UK. The cost of living is soaring, and inflation has wiped out 35% of your money in the last 5 years alone. You work 3 days out of 5 for the government, and you pay £4,000 a year in government debt interest. Then when you finally pay off your house and you retire, you're looking at 40% inheritance tax. And this is just the beginning. The UK want to tax you even more, and they want a digital ID, and they want more control. There will be no cash soon whatsoever. You'll get imprisoned for your social media posts. You own less and less and less. You give away more and more and more. And people wonder why everyone's either leaving the UK or taking the streets to protest.
The thing about UK, freedom of speech and religious freedom in that country is just literally dwindling, okay? So
I've been holding a sign saying I do not support the prescription of Palestine action. I've been arrested for having the words Palestine action written on a sign. This is a police state.
Do you think the police will be arresting journalists next for mentioning Palestine action?
Anything's possible, apparently, in this country. I don't recognise it anymore.
Yeah, that's arresting an individual, a civilian in her country, just because she says something that the current government of UK does not agree with. Even Joe Rogan picked up on this, and he spent about 2 minutes and 30 seconds highlighting how serious of a thing in UK to suppress free speech. You think the United States is bad? We are not as bad as they are, but it looks like we're going there. But listen.
Ultimately, what you're seeing in other countries is moving to digital IDs. This is just implemented in Europe and in the UK. Yep. You're seeing it in a lot of places where you're going to have to need that to work and vote and travel. And it'll be even more of a constriction on your ability to express yourself, particularly when you think about the UK, which has had more than 12,000 arrests for very mild social media posts.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, I can't believe that. I've been watching this stuff play out.
You're seeing a complete, total attack on one of the most fundamental principles of the Western world, which is your ability to express yourself. And your ability to call out that you think that the policies that are being implemented in your country are destructive. That's people have always been able to do that. These people are not calling for violence. Yep. They're being arrested for wild things. People are being arrested for liking posts. Yep. They're being some people were investigated for viewing posts. 12,000 people arrested by the police in the UK, the same place that just implemented digital ID. I mean, this is an Orwell nightmare coming to life right in front of our face, and no one's flinching. If you look at what's going on, like in the UK, what they're learning over there is that they are in a tyrannical government, and it's slowly but surely. It's got its back, it's got the hooks in, and it's putting the rear naked choke in. It's got them locked up. And they've got to do something about that.
Why do you think that's happening?
Why? Because of what we talked about, power and control and resources. And a very limited amount of people are controlling a huge amount of people. This is all the same thing that happens with kings and with emperors. It's control. You got to limit the people's ability to rebel, limit their ability to gather resources, keep them at each other's throats ideologically, keep them fighting over the dumbest shit possible. Meanwhile, closer and closer and closer to total control of the population, where they're even openly stating it. Hillary Clinton said in an interview, if we can't control social media, we lose control.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're not supposed to have control over other human beings. Yeah, you're going to lose the thing you're not supposed to have. An elected official is supposed to be a representative for the people. You're supposed to be a person who's a public servant.
This is what I'm talking about. This is control at its finest, financial control. This is Revelation 13 at its finest. No buying and selling. Now, I'm not saying digital ID is the mark of the beast, but he can certainly enforce it. And there has to be a system that controls everyone, and everyone must participate. And if everyone participate, then the powers that be can determine who is good and bad, who is following the law, who is not, and they can track everybody's move. This is something that what the Bible says is exactly what it is.
We cannot continue with business as usual, and change is inevitable. This is where technology, like digital ID, becomes critical. My institute's own analysis shows that introducing this in the UK would save at least $2 billion a year, and likely more, by reducing losses to fraud, improving tax collection, and better targeting of state support.
Okay, the fact that you want to put the decline of this country on the fact that there's a bit of paper washing around is laughable.
I'm not saying it's all
down
about that.
to your Chancellor, nothing else. But apart from that, the problem with digital ID, and I read this article by Pat McFadden today, who's Tony Blair's mouthpiece, because Tony Blair wants this because he's going to make zillions from it, by the way. It's the only thing he talks about. There is only one line in this whole article which, for me, is absolutely critical, and that is that it's going to be so easy to do all of the things that you've just said. You can even collect your supermarket loyalty points on it. That is the scariest line in that whole article. You know why? Because eventually, Kai, when we have this whole thing where you can't do anything in society without your digital ID, not only will you be able to collect your supermarket points on it, which sounds all lovely, when you've eaten too much beef because you've overstepped your carbon footprint, it won't let you buy it at the tills. When you go to fill up your car, it won't let you put petrol in. And when you haven't been a nice person online, it won't let you get on an airplane. This is the start of a social credit system. It's wrong, and everybody should say no, and I will say no. We have a passport. They know who I am. That's enough.
The people of UK are not having it. They are not having it. They know this is a government overreach. This is going to destroy their freedom of conscience and liberty. This is a violation against their rights as human beings. This is not a new thing. It's been practiced. Remember, WEF says China is a good example of, how to get things done. Well, take a look at what happens under, extreme control of social credit score and digital ID and monitoring every single thing that humanity is doing. This is what happens.
A good score brings benefits, but people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens.
It's a matter of principle. Those people have to be condemned.
Those people aren't honest, so they have to pay the price.
It's only right to pay your debts. You have to blacklist those that don't.
The Supreme Court has created a blacklist for so-called bad citizens, those whose ratings have dropped to 0. On it are companies, but also 23 million people to date. Among them is this journalist Liu Hu. He got a little too close to uncovering corruption among high-profile party members. After being sued for defamation by the subject of a story he'd written, he was blacklisted. But he only realized when he tried to buy a train ticket and was told he was banned from traveling.
That tells me I'm still on the blacklist.
Punished because he's been branded untrustworthy by the state.
Once you're blacklisted, you can no longer get a bank loan, start a business, buy an apartment, or even send your children to a private school.
Liu Hu is among a tiny minority of people who have dared to criticize the system, which some are calling a digital dictatorship.
I worry, because I think many people like me will be deprived of individual freedoms.
This is what comes with a digital ID, okay? This is what comes with a digital ID. How far do you want to take this thing? I don't want it. Now, this is Whitney Webb, man. I love listening to this lady. I'll be honest. She doesn't play. She doesn't do the left and the right stuff. She just gets to the heart of things, and she addressed the economists. She called them all out. She doesn't play. Listen to what she says.
There's a coordinated global policy push for digital IDs as the new form of government-issued identification credentials. And they're essentially all based on your biometric data, which can be your fingerprints, your face, the iris of your eyeball. And the idea is essentially to collect all of that data and have it housed or have it tied directly to your digital ID. So your physical ID will be mapped to the digital ID. Digital IDs are not really a separate project from CBDCs and this new digital financial system. And UN documentation and also documentation from the Bank of International Settlements, they very overtly state that CBDCs and digital IDs are meant to go together. And without digital IDs, the CBDC digital finance system cannot exist. They have to know who you are. And so they want to have your wallet tied to a digital ID and have that digital ID be mapped to your physical ID through the biometric data collection. One of the main reasons for this coordinated global push to develop digital IDs is because it's deemed essential to the entire Sustainable Development Agenda, which is the UN Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, also known as Agenda 2030. And the specific part dealing with digital IDs is within SDG 16, which is about building peaceful and inclusive societies. One of the indicators of SDG 16, 16.9, calls for legal identification for everyone in the world from the time they're born, essentially. One of the main words they use to market this stuff is equity and inclusion. The idea that we need to include everybody in these new systems. But if you don't participate in digital ID, you won't have a legally recognized identity, you won't have rights, you won't be able to access services without it. So it's being framed as promoting inclusion, but the system itself is inherently exclusionary and has been used to track and surveil people, to link people to, essentially all their activities, what they say online in some of the countries that have rolled this out, and has been used to facilitate human rights abuses. So it's not exactly as inclusive as they like to claim. It's inclusive in the sense that we want everyone equally included in our new system that we're creating, our new control system, fundamentally. What happened with the vaccine passport was to link your identity to your travel, to the freedom of movement. And if you didn't have one, you were excluded from entering certain places. So that, again, highlights the idea of how these digital IDs are inherently exclusionary, because if you don't have one, then you're excluded from, moving where other people that have those privileges. And if you don't abide by these various stipulations, you're excluded from participating in those things.
Listen, Ronald Reagan said it this way, man. If we lose freedom here, there is no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This digital ID stuff we've seen over in UK, friends, that stuff is going to swing over to the West. It might come in a different form, but it's coming. How do I know? The Bible says so, friends. The Bible says so. You see, UK used to be a stronghold for the Protestant Reformation. In 1517, nailed the 95 Theses on a door in Wittenberg, Germany. He challenged the papal ideals of indulgences. As a result of that, the Protestant Reformation spread across Europe. Zwingli, John Calvin, John Huss, all of these men and many more began to pick up on that. King Henry III began to defend and teach the doctrines of the Protestant Reformation. Men like Thomas Cranmer, William Tyndale, Anne Boleyn. Listen, UK was once a stronghold for Protestantism. Over the years, they have rejected the Protestant Reformation. And I'm telling you, this is something the news is not going to tell you. One of the reasons why UK has become what it is today, they have rejected the Protestant Reformation. They have laid down the spirit of the protest. Many individuals in UK have become Catholics or atheists, completely secular. Protestantism in UK has been rejected. And part of the reasons why, freedom of conscience, religious liberty, and the powers that be can do what they're doing, I'm telling you, is because the Protestant Reformation has been rejected in UK. And listen, I can get into some stories and put some things together to build this case. I'm telling you, that's what happened. Now, thank God for the people who are still standing firm. But Bible prophecy says, friends, you're going to need to do more than just stand firm. You're going to need to believe in Jesus. The Bible tells us the time is coming, and we're not far from this. You will not be able to buy and sell unless you have the mark of the beast. There it is. No buying and selling. So there has to be a system in place that can control buying and selling. That's the only way somebody can say you cannot do. So a digital ID is highly possible. I cannot say this is the case. They talk about CDBC. Digital ID and CDBC are very much connected. Or FRID chip, like we call it today. Well, it's in your credit cards today. You used to fight against it, but today it's in your credit cards, right? Everywhere you go, there it is. You buy everything with your phones. Aren't you almost there? We're already being primed. We are being primed. What you're going to need in these last days, my dear friends, is faith in the Word of God. There's not going to be nothing we can do. Listen, we are told every earthly support will be cut off. And you can see what's happening in UK as an exemplar of what's coming over to the United States. But friends, we are the last bastion of freedom in the West. The last one. Every other country has already given up and surrendered to authoritarian leaders and corruption. It's bad. It's wicked. But let me tell you, the United States is next. If God doesn't spare this land, you going to see digital ID format in this country. Listen, friends, this is what we are told in the prophetic word. Desire of ages. Desire of ages. Pick up those old books. Don't let them fool you. Go read the Spirit of Prophecy. In the last great conflict of the controversy with Satan, those who are loyal to God will see every earthly support cut off because they refuse to break his law in obedience to earthly powers. They will be forbidden to buy and sell. It will finally be decreed that they should be put to death. Friends, this system they're putting in place, although I cannot say this is the one, but whatever system you see is being built, ultimately is going to be used against God's people. Do you hear what I said? Okay. Here is another one. Last Day Events 254, paragraph 2. The season of distress and anguish before us will require a faith that can endure weariness, delay, hunger, a faith that will not faint, though severely tried. Friends, we need to work on strengthening our faith today. Pray the prayer of Mark chapter 9:24. Lord, I believe. Help thou my unbelief. We're going to need strong faith in these last days. And if you tie your significance and identity and value to this world, we are in trouble. We are in trouble. But if your confidence is in Jesus, His grace, you have hope of eternal life because of your love for Him and His love for you. You have nothing to worry about, and He will take care of His people until the end. Anyway, friends, thanks for listening. Share your thought and perspective with me. How do you feel about what's going on in UK? Where do you stand when it comes to that? What other things could you share with me? And how many of you is watching right now, maybe from UK? Do you have some information you would like to share? Would you like to come on and share with us what is happening here at Advent Media Connect? I'll make room for you. All right, friends, until next time, have a good one. Bye.